I think what's really challenging and what can feel really daunting is knowing that you have to pay bills, knowing that you have to get revenue to make this work.
This is the Venue Nest podcast, a space where every part of being a venue owner gets to exist. The beautiful parts, the hard parts, and everything in between. Welcome back to the Venue Nest podcast. I'm Ashley Shepard, and I'm here with my beautiful co-host, Kelsey Smith. Today, we really want to talk about what it feels like to run a venue when it's very isolating, when you just feel like you want to give up, when there's the hard days, the heavy load, the peak season of running a lot of events, and then also the beautiful part of when you have this incredible moment that just helps you realize why you're in it. So I want to ask you, from a venue director standpoint, when you first started, what did those lonely days look like? Just from a day-to-day basis, knowing that I was really absent for a lot of it because I was running the catering company. We were talking a lot, but I felt like emotionally we were on different planets because we were running things in very different ways that had to be ran that way.
Yeah. I remember it was such a crucial time for Sheps, which is the catering company. And I knew I had to hold my own. So I just knew there was an emotional responsibility that I felt I have to step up. I have to carry this because I respected you enough that I was not going to fail. And I didn't want that for you. I didn't want that for me. And so I took on a lot of the emotional burden and responsibility of, I've kind of got to do this myself. I didn't really feel like I had a lot of people that I knew who were doing this, because at the time, I think something that is evolving is the whole community over competition mindset, which is something we are very big on.
Yeah.
And
it's had to be a development for sure.
It did.
Yeah.
And at the very beginning phases, I feel like we were so tunnel visioned that it wasn't like, I can't call up any of these other venues and ask for help or what are you guys doing? It was just well, I sure hope this is right because I've got to figure it out. So there were a lot of days where I kind of had to just step back and find ways outside of work to mentally push forward and be like, this is why I'm doing this, and hang on to those moments when having these mother of the brides and anybody who we're working with, that it was just such an impactful experience, and receiving a nice text from a client afterward of being like, that was the most incredible day. Thank you for your help. That made all the difference to me. I took great pride in that. Yeah. And that to me helped push through any loneliness I was feeling. But there is no doubt it is a lonely position. It was a very lonely position the way we had it structured, and it was hard. But I would love to know your perspective because I don't have kids.
Yeah.
And I can only imagine what that would feel like having kids and being a mom through that.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of our venue owners are have kids. They may be moms, they may be dads, they may be anyone who has kids in general. So I would love for you to share your perspective on how you battled through that and what made it worth it, all the things.
Before I answer it, I want to say something that kind of triggered a thought for me when you were talking, which was not wanting to let me down. And a lot of venue owners purchase their properties alone, and a lot of venue owners have some type of partner, whether that's a silent partner or it's someone that's actively working with them. And I think where I felt really lonely in the beginning is I really respect all my partners. But at the time I only had one partner, and I really respected him. And he was a big financial piece of how we were able to build Riverbridge. I think what's really challenging and what can feel really daunting is knowing that you have to pay bills, knowing that you have to get revenue to make this work. And I just remember those nights of, I would be on my phone constantly, just being did they book? Did they book? following.
gosh.
So the way we used to do it, well, we kind of have a similar thing the way we do it now, but by month, we can see like how many bookings and who's booked and what date they booked and how much the cost was, you know?
Mhm.
And I remember like I would just pull it up like multiple times a day just to see where we were at with bookings because I would be so physically sick about the revenue that was coming in, knowing that we had a huge mortgage payment that needed to be paid, as well as like paying our staff and all of these different things. And that was really isolating for me because I felt like I carried a lot of burden emotionally, feeling like I had to make it work.
Yep.
And
Mhm.
maybe too, because I felt like I owed Brad a little bit. You know, like he was believing in me and he was believing in this project and this business that I just had a lot of pressure. And he didn't put the pressure on me. He believed in me or he wouldn't have done the project, right? But I had this underlying pressure that it couldn't fail. And every day I just think that got heavier and heavier as cash flow kind of goes like this. And that was one thing I really had to learn was managing cash flow. You're going to have highs, revenue highs, and you're going to have revenue lows because as we've kind of collected data, we know when we have high booking months and when we're going to have low booking months. Like it is just historical like consistency now because we've tracked it. But just being able to manage cash flow and not have to worry about that really relieved a lot of the internal isolation I was feeling and the internal pressure that I was feeling. So I just want people to know that everybody feels that. Everyone senses like when you've invested your life savings, this maybe is too much information. My husband might kill me. I don't even care. We're being honest here.
But for the podcast.
For the podcast, sweetie. For the podcast. When we built Riverbridge, we had to put everything we owned into it. Like we had to have a lien on our house for the first, I think it was like the first 2 years. I don't even remember what it was. It's not there anymore. Thank goodness. But we had to put everything that we owned on the line. And that is pressure. We are not the only people who have done that for any business, but we're talking venue specifically. People put sometimes their whole life savings. They put in their retirement fund. They put in everything they own to make this work. And there is a level of pressure and isolation that comes with like having to know it has to work or I'm going to lose my house. And that was really hard for me. I just remember the day that they took that lien off my house and I felt like I had just been unbound from chains that just I didn't even know were around my ankles or on my shoulders or whatever that looks like. So I think for me, that's the first thing. I think the second thing for me is I think the challenge of being an entrepreneur for a female specifically is having constant conflict with motherhood and running your business. I think when you feel really called to build a business, but you also feel called to raise a family, it can create tension that is really hard to balance. And over time, it just got more and more daunting for me. And with the catering company specifically, I was gone nights and weekends. So I would work all day preparing stuff for the catering company. Then I would go like execute events at night. And so there would be times where I was gone from 6 a.m. to midnight and like wouldn't even see my kids. And that's really normal actually in this industry. Like I know that it's normal. I just know that there's a better way because I had to kind of hit rock bottom to see that and to create boundaries for me. But the biggest thing for me is just, I remember a really specific day that like it was Canyon. This will be really hard for me to share, actually. Is that he so desperately just wanted his mom at a game, like at a baseball game. And I physically couldn't be there. Like I didn't have a choice at the time. And I think it's a battle that so many parents face in entrepreneurship, that there's things we have to sacrifice, but every sacrifice is a choice that we're making. And it's not right or wrong. It's just the choice that we make. And I just remember that so clearly of like, what is this really worth to me? And what am I willing to sacrifice? Like at that point, I knew I couldn't do it all alone. I was carrying like all of this alone and I didn't need to, but I was almost forcing myself because I'm like such a control freak, which I've learned, thank you, through counseling, that I had to like release control to, one, not only scale my business, but two, to have a life that I really desired, where I could feel super passionate about the business I was building. And then I could go home and be super in love and passionate about my family. And so I think every parent out there has to identify what you're sacrificing and kind of make a decision of, is it worth it? And sometimes it is. Sometimes we don't have a choice. Like in that moment, I didn't have a choice. I had to lean against my house. The business had to work. I couldn't just be like, well, you know what? This isn't worth it anymore, so I'm not going to do it. Like I didn't have a choice at that time. But the choice I did have was to be where my feet were. And I think it's one of the greatest books ever written, Be Where Your Feet Are. I love it so
It's
much.
incredible.
If you haven't read it, you really need to read it. But I think what I loved about the book was it really taught me that wherever I was, I needed to be present. And when I was home, I had to learn how to be home. I actually still struggle with this. This is really hard for me. But when I'm home, like putting my phone away, even if it's just for an hour, and not answering emails and not feeling like I have to text someone back like right away, and just learning that to be present in that moment with my children. And then when I'm at work, I am fully invested at work and I am giving every ounce of energy. Now there's times that I have to answer my phone, like when the school calls me, whatever. But I try really hard to just create those boundaries. And I think what it's given me is it's given me the freedom inside my mind to not let motherhood or parenting conflict with business all the time. It's the choice I've made. Like I'm not a victim here. I made this choice. It comes with sacrifice in both regards, but it doesn't feel isolating anymore because I feel like I'm settled with what I think is right in my life. For so many years, like I just wanted someone who understood me. And I felt like everywhere I turned, it was like, well, she doesn't understand me because she's not a working mom, or she doesn't understand me because she doesn't have kids, or she doesn't understand me, or he doesn't understand me because he's a man and he should be at work when I should be at home. Like there was just such constant conflict of like, I just wanted someone to understand. And I think the minute I like let go of kind of horizontal, I don't want to say acceptance, but like horizontal understanding, when I let go of that and I realized that like vertically with me and God, like I was aligned, it like changed everything for me. And so if you're just feeling like you're having constant conflict of, I'm so passionate about running a venue, but I really want to be at my kid's baseball game, you can do both. Like I am living proof of hitting rock bottom and like wanting to throw everything away and wanting to throw the towel in on everything, and learning that I don't have to feel alone and I don't have to build this alone. Like there are systems out there. There are also ways that you can delegate, that you can build your business, and that you can build a team around you that actually will care about your venue in the way that you do. Sometimes I think, well, and you're a great example of this, but like sometimes we think people aren't going to love our space as much as we do, employee wise. And so we have to carry everything. And the weight, the carrying everything is actually what creates the isolation, because you're like, it also creates a lot of resentment because you're like, no one gets it. No one understands. No one's going to care about this as much as I do. So I'll just do it. I'll carry it. I'll be it. And the greatest lesson that I think I had to be taught was that someone doesn't have to love your venue as much as you love it. They just have to love it 20%. Like, really, like, it doesn't even have to be 80%. Like, if they can just do 20%, they can just invest a little bit in you or in what you're trying to build. There's so many incredible people that you can hire. And we have, like, we have hired people who have really allowed me to respect my own boundaries that I've set. They see the vision, they see where we're trying to go, and they're building it for us now. They just need us to guide them and love them and support them. And I just like can't even express how much it's changed me emotionally, of just the isolation that we can sometimes feel and the burden we can sometimes carry that feels overwhelming.
I think too, for anybody listening, I think you need to know she actually means what she says. She has a 3 p.m. cutoff and everybody respects it. And like, I know you laugh, but
I know I think because people think I'm funny because they're like, there she goes.
No, I think it's one of the coolest things because it's a boundary that she has set where her kids get off. That is your time to go be a mom.
Yeah.
And it's one of the coolest things that all of us respect. And to your point of letting somebody love your venue, I think as a venue owner, there are so many ways you can evolve and grow and change. That is all life is growing and changing and evolving. And when you take a step back and let somebody else love and grow, I mean, you're experiencing this right now. We're all experiencing this, but it allows you to grow in ways you couldn't before. Hands off, letting somebody else grow. You're giving somebody else an opportunity to take ownership and to say, I've got this. I may not own this, but it's my baby too. And I've experienced that before. I experienced that with Riverbridge before we all came back together. And it's a pretty special feeling. And I think our venue directors right now have embodied that. I think they have really allowed you to grow, me to grow. And it's hard. It's actually really hard when I think a lot of people who come into this industry are executors. What I mean by that is like, well, it's just easier for me to do it. I will do it. I know the exact way to do it. I know how I care. I know my clients are going to be taken care of. That's really hard to step back and be like, somebody else can do it. And it might be a slight bit different than me, but just because you do it one way doesn't mean it's the only way.
Yeah.
And that's really hard.
Yeah.
It's really hard to learn.
It's so true. I think that sums up kind of like why a mission statement, why values inside of a company, as small as wedding venues are, why those are so important. Because if your employees understand what's important to you, you kind of have to pick those top 3 things. Like the listeners, I want you to think about what are the top 3 non-negotiables inside my venue.
Love that.
Like, what are those? Because if you just dial those in and you create a mission statement around those and your employees buy into that, they will create the same experience you do. And it really is just beautiful when you can kind of get to that space. So I love it. I love it. Thank you for joining us on the Venue Nest podcast. Until next time, my friends, go join the Venue Nest community. I hope something in today's conversation made you feel a little more seen.
And a little less alone in all of this.
If it did, take a minute to rate, review, and subscribe. It helps more venue owners find this space.
And if there's something you're navigating, we'd love to hear from you.
You can find us on all of our socials, but more importantly, go join our Venue Nest community.
We're so glad you're here.
We'll see you next week.